everyone, this is Celine from Blue Calla Patterns. Welcome to video 4 for the Celosia crossbody bag. In this video we're going to be sewing the slip pocket and the zipper pocket for our lining panels. So to start, let's do the slip pocket. You'll need both of your slip pocket pieces and you place them right sides together and then clip them along the top straight edge. And then you're going to go over to your machine and you're going to sew them together. Make sure that you backstitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, I used a contrasting thread so that you can see the line where I've sewn the two slip pocket pieces together. Now we're going to kind of do a two-step process here when I'm pressing the seam allowance. I first press it open, and then I flip the slip pocket pieces so that they are wrong sides together, and then I press that seam allowance flat. And then I'll go over to the machine and I'm going to top stitch that seam allowance along the top. Okay, so the slip pocket is top stitched. Now I'm going to place it on one of my lining panels, and they're both right side facing up. And I'm just going to quickly add a few clips, and then I'm going to baste the slip pocket to the lining panel with 1/4 inch seam allowance just along these three sides. Now I want to separate the pocket into two separate slip pockets, so I'm just going to fold this in half, and I'm going to make a faint mark here and here. Now I'm going to start from the bottom mark and I'm going to sew towards the top mark, and then when I get to the top I'm going to backstitch to secure the opening of my pocket. I now have two separate slip pockets and I'm going to set this lining panel aside. Now we'll need the remaining lining panel, the two zipper pocket lining pieces, the zipper facing piece and your 9-inch zipper. I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle on the wrong side of my zipper facing piece, and you want the rectangle to be centered top and bottom and sideways, and you want to draw a rectangle box that is 9 inches by 3/8 or 1/2 inch depending on what size zipper you're using. I'm using a dress zipper, so I just make my box 3/8 of an inch. But if for some reason you're using a number 5 zipper or zipper tape, you'll want to increase the size of that box, the height of the box, to about 1/2 inch. It's really not a good idea to try and draw accurately on a soft ironing pad. Okay, now I'm going to take my remaining lining piece, and I want to be pinning this about 1/2 inch from this top edge, so my ruler is 1 inch thick. I'm just going to place this so that the top is aligned. So you want that 1 inch from the top edge, and then I just eyeball it and center it in the middle. And of course, where are my pins? I do this an awful lot, don't I? Okay, I'm gonna go find my pins. Okay, the zipper facing is pinned to the lining panel. Now we're going to sew the zipper facing to the lining panel, and you're going to do that by sewing around the rectangle box that you just drew. Keep your needle in the down position so that when you turn at the corners it makes nice sharp corners. Now I'm going to draw a line down the center and then an angled line to each of the 4 corners. And now I'm going to cut an opening in the center of the rectangle, and I'm going to cut along the lines that I just drew, not the rectangle line, just the line that goes through the rectangle and then goes to the 4 corners. So first I start by cutting that center line, and that doesn't go all the way to each end. Then I'm going to cut from the center line to each of the 4 corners. Now, it's better if you use a very small, sharp pair of scissors to do this, because you want to cut as close as you can to the stitching at each corner without cutting the actual stitching itself. And the closer you get to the corners, the nicer your rectangle box will look. I'm not even wearing my glasses right now, so this probably is going to go very badly for me. Just making sure I didn't damage the stitching. Okay, so I think I did okay. Now you're just pulling the facing piece through to the wrong side. And I take my time when I'm pressing the rectangle box, and I dampen my fingers, and then I roll the seam. And I press a tiny little bit at a time. Sorry, I know watching this part is a little bit boring, especially since I do exactly this for every single one of my video series. I'm always making slip pockets and zippered pockets. Okay, so when I'm done pressing from the right side, I flip it over, and I do the same thing from the wrong side, and then I also try to press the corners flat at each end. Okay. All right, so now the opening is ready for our zipper. We're going to set this aside, and we're going to prepare our zipper pocket lining pieces. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to press the bottom edge of each piece about 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. It doesn't really matter as long as they're both exactly the same amount. And this one. Okay, so for one piece now, you're going to cut away the top, there's threads everywhere here. You're going to cut away the top 1 inch of only one of the pieces. Okay. And then start with that one piece and take your 9-inch zipper and place it along that top edge. Make sure that it's centered, so you want equal space at each end. And then you're going to sew the zipper to the lining piece. So you have them both right side facing up. You're going to sew with 1/4 inch seam allowance, and make sure that you backstitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, so the zipper is attached, and now what we're going to do is we're going to press that lining piece away from our zipper. bottom came unfolded. Okay, now sorry. Now you're going to take the remaining zipper pocket piece and you're going to place your zipper again along the top edge and make sure that your sides here are lined up. And you pin this in place. And again, you're sewing with 1/4 inch seam allowance, making sure that you backstitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, so our zipper is sewn to the second lining piece. What we're going to do is also press this piece away from the zipper. And then our zipper pocket pieces are going to be ready to sew into our lining piece. So you're going to first place these two lining pieces on your work surface right side up. You want your zipper pull to the left. Then, and the shorter lining piece at the bottom, which is more important. Then you're going to place your lining piece over top and you're going to pin it in place. Now, there's a lot of different ways that people like to do this part. Some like to use tape, some double-sided tape, some like to use a glue. I just like to pin at the beginning and the end. And then when I'm sewing in place, I make little adjustments so that I can make sure my zipper is perfectly centered in the box. So now I'm going to go over to the machine. I'm going to sew all the way around the box with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and you're sewing through all the layers when you do that. Okay, so the zipper pocket lining pieces are sewn to the main panel. I'm just going to flip this around, and you're going to take the top folded edge and you're going to bring it down to meet the bottom folded edge. And then I just use a couple of clips to keep those bottom edges together. And then you'll see it kind of bubbles up. So what I do is I just press that. I press it away from the zipper. So going upwards. Now you're going to go over to your machine. So sew with the lining panel facing up and just fold it out of the way. And then start at the top, backstitch, sew down as close as you can. See the little triangle of fabric? Lift that up, triangle of fabric. You're going to sew as close as you can to that stitching of your rectangle box, and then sew all the way down, and then make sure that you backstitch again at the bottom here. Then you're going to do exactly the same thing on this side. Start at the top, backstitch, sew all the way down. When you get to the bottom, backstitch again. You're leaving the bottom folded edges open because that's how we're going to be turning our bag. Okay, so the sides of the zippered pocket is sewn shut. I just trim a little bit here at the corner because it'll make sewing the bottom shut a little bit easier. And then you're going to make sure that you open your zipper all the way. Have a look. You should have an opening at the bottom for turning. And that's the end of this video. In the final video, we're going to do the final assembly of our bag where we attach all four the two lining panels and the two exterior panels to our gusset, and we'll also complete our adjustable strap.